Hey, this is BJ. Thanks for listening to our show's podcast. If you're a fan of all things geeky, you should check out my other podcast, BJ Shea's Geek Nation. We have new episodes every day, and you can check it out at bjgeeknation.com.
Your driver's license is important so you can get back and forth to work, get your kids to school, and back and forth to daycare. If your license has been suspended because you can't pay your tickets, you can't do any of those things. Let's talk about Chapter 13 bankruptcy. You may have heard the tickets cannot be discharged, but they can be dealt with in a Chapter 13 case. Why not come in for a free consultation? The chapter you choose will make all the difference to your getting back, legally, on the road. Let's design a plan to pay off your tickets and restore your license immediately. I'm attorney Travis Gagne. Please contact me today at ChooseTheRightChapter.com. That's ChooseTheRightChapter.com.
99.9 KISW, the Rock of Seattle. Well, we all got a lot of sad news over the weekend when we found out that Foo Fighters drummer Taylor Hawkins died in his hotel in Colombia on Friday night. And they found out before the show was going to go on.
Dude, it was so nuts because you're on Twitter and screwing around and just scrolling, and then I saw somebody post like, "No, not Taylor Hawkins," and I'm like, "What the hell happened?" Like, I know he had some issues in his past, but I was just like, and then you go to the Foo Fighters Twitter page and they had this long post talking about it, and your heart sank because I don't know, he just wasn't ready for a dude that's in his 50s. He was just 50.
Yeah.
He just turned 50. And I know he battled some substance abuse issues like 20 years ago, but it seemed like that wasn't a problem recently. And he's been in good spirits, good shape. And sadly, it sounded like he relapsed.
Yeah, we don't know the cause of death, but like you said, Steve, local officials said he had 10 different drugs in his system, including marijuana, opioids, antidepressants, and stress and anxiety medication.
They said like his heart was like, I can't remember how many times the size of what it would usually be, but it enlarged so much from all the stuff that it just gave out.
The band issued a statement calling Taylor's death a tragic and untimely loss. They added, quote, "His musical spirit and infectious laughter will live on with all of us forever. Our hearts go out to his wife, children, and family." And again, that was right before the performance, which means his last performance was with the band on March 20th at Lollapalooza, Argentina.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And it was a super fun performance. I saw some of the clips, and you can't tell in any situation what happens afterwards, but it just seemed, I'm sure the band was just shocked by it. I know they came back and Dave was in terrible shape. You just think about Dave and, he lost one of his closest friends with Kurt many, many, many years ago, starts a new band, finds he's joked about it before, but he found his soulmate in Taylor. They hit it off. He's like, it was like love at first sight, he said in his memoir, and became great friends, close friends, and, had the ups and downs of what went on with him and his troubles. But, that's your buddy, and then you lose that guy as well.
Yeah, man. It is. It's just, it's very, very tragic, like you said. And many people have come out talking about how genuine and great of a person Taylor Hawkins was, which is so sad to think that, so many good things were said about this guy. And yet he unfortunately had his own troubles to the point where, it looks like it may have led to his death.
Yeah, a lot of people were talking about how loving, how caring he was. He just, and people have been showing some great videos and pictures. And it was wow, I was trying to process all of this anyone was. That's a fan of the Foo Fighters, just devastated by it. And I was man, I remember I did an interview with him many, many years ago, and I ended up finding the video clip, BJ, because I was it was such a unique interview. And it's weird because I always hoped that one day I would get to interview him again and play the audio of the moment that we had together, because I don't know if he would remember. Obviously, he's gone through, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't, because he's been through a billion interviews. But it was such a unique and different interview because, so to give you the context, so the Foo Fighters were playing, I think at the time, the Key Arena or somewhere, they were playing a show. And I was hoping to go, but that day was the day that my relationship ended. The girl I was with moved out of my house. It was just a devastating day. And I was even on the fence of I should probably get out of my house so I don't just sit around in misery. But I think I'm just going to stay home. But then I found out they were hey, can you go and do an interview with Taylor Hawkins last minute? It's well, crap, I gotta go do that for my job, and it's a good way to get my mind off of things. So I didn't have time to get recording equipment, but I remember back in the day you had those stupid flip cams.
Dude, those were so cool.
They were easy to carry around. So I'm well, that way I don't have to get a bunch of equipment. I'll just use the flip cam and I'll do it that way. So I show up backstage to do an interview with Taylor Hawkins. The label person's you can use the flip cam, but you can only use it as for audio purposes. We don't want any video. And so, fast forward past all that, later on afterwards, Taylor's I don't care if you use the video, feel free. He was actually talking into the camera as the interview went on. I was originally just holding it, but aimed his way so I could get the audio. But like eventually he was just like talking right into it. So I didn't feel like I was like secretly doing that. And then afterwards I asked him, I'm like, are you cool with this video being? And he was like, do whatever you want with it. I don't care. But while we were talking, dude, this interview was rough because I'm like in my head, I'm like, I can't. I'm stuttering and stammering like I always do, but even worse. And finally, I was just like, screw it. I'm just going to tell him why I'm just off my game. I was like, hey, man, I'm just having a tough time. My girl left me today, and I'm here right now trying to do an interview with you. And he just stopped the interview, BJ, and decided, we're going to talk about your relationship, and he's going to give me advice. And I found that clip. Now, mind you, the audio is not great. It's okay, but it's because it's on a crappy flip cam. So we didn't have like high quality audio on this bad boy, but it's still, I'm glad I had it because it's kind of, for me, I was struggling. I'm like, do I post this somewhere? But then I'm like, man, this really illustrates how cool of a guy Taylor was, that even a lot of people have commented on the video being like, dude just stopped doing a regular interview to help console a guy he's never met to make him feel better about being dumped by his girl. That's a testament to a good dude.
That's a fact.
So we have the audio for you to hear, man. It's pretty trippy to hear like his advice because BJ, for the most part, he was dead on, and it's crazy to hear.
Are you okay with your chick like bailing? Or are you pretty bummed about it?
Oh, it was pretty devastating.
Now think of all the other chicks you get to nail now.
That is a good point.
Okay. Was the sex hot?
It was awesome.
Oh, yeah. Well, goddamn. That's a whole other issue right there. And you know you're going to go through, like, now you're going to look, you're going to be that guy for the next couple months, and you're going to be, like, wanting to get laid so bad that you're going to be that guy at the bar.
It's going to be obvious.
Yeah, it's obvious. So then all of a sudden, you're going to go through this rejuvenation period where you're just you know, having sex with lots of different women, using condoms, of course, and being a good, upstanding, responsible person. And you're going to be like, wow, this is amazing. This is the best time of my life. It's like my 20s again. But you also will be looking for the one the whole time.
Yeah.
The time before I met my wife, there was like a year period where I was a bachelor. It was the best.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the thing is, the whole time I was still like looking for the one, you know? Mm-hmm. And then you get married and you go, God damn, that was fun. and enjoy this time period because you will find another girl and she will move in. And quite possibly this one will be the one that you marry, you know, and you'll have days when you'll look over at her and you'll go, God, you know, God, I remember when I was killing it, nailing all these different chicks, and that's over now. And I'm married now. And there's going to be lots of times when you're going to be like, this is the best thing ever, you know, and it is the best thing ever. But she wasn't the right one.
Yeah, no, you're right.
She wasn't the one.
This is just hilarious. How did it go from an interview to...
This is way more important.
This is
talking about
it's far more important.
Everybody knows about the... Just go on
Foo Fighters.
Go on the internet, go on YouTube, you find out all you need to know about the damn Foo Fighters.
From now on, relationship problems.
Relationships.
I'm contacting Taylor. Hey, man, it's a real pleasure to talk to you.
Well, let's ask me a few more questions.
It's all right. I don't want to keep you.
It's all right. I'm bored.
All right, well, then let's talk. What else? We're going to talk about. You guys played Wembley Stadium. That was the best part because, like, the label person's like, you got 10 minutes and it's 10 minutes are up. And we ended up talking for like 10 more minutes about the Foo Fighters, which was cool. So, but dude, like, how insane was that?
That's fantastic. Dude, I'm glad you saved that because that's the priceless moment of our careers when we get to have a conversation you know nobody else has had with the dude.
Well, and the crazy part is I posted that and then I went to bed and I wake up to the next morning and I didn't put any hashtags. I wasn't trying to like, you know, do anything for like views. Like I was just like, this is something I thought would be a fun thing for people that listen to our station, that know me, friends, that can like see a human side to Taylor Hawkins that I thought that I experienced because I was like, that's such a special moment. But I didn't do anything where I was tagging anyone with hopes that it would spread virally. And I wake up and it has like over 200,000 views on this thing. Ooh. It's been retweeted like a ridiculous amount of times. And friends of it, like people direct message me that I wouldn't share, but like that said thank you for putting that up there, which I thought was really sweet. And then I remember first I noticed what's going on my Twitter notifications because I open up my phone and it has Kathy Griffin, the comic.
Oh, really?
That just wrote thank you, like tweeted at me, thank you. And I'm like, what is going on? And I realized I look at why, and she's thanking me because apparently she either was friends with or a big fan of the Foo Fighters. And that was kind of a cool thing that, like, for a lot of people, they appreciated seeing a fun tribute to him during a tough time.
You know, that's exactly it. Though, because there are when people pass away, when there's any kind of services, usually funny stories come up, like, and that helps a lot. And here's something that nobody knew that he did, but definitely probably said, that for them, that's so Taylor. I would be so surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all if anybody who was really good friends with Taylor would go, that's who Taylor was. This is why we love the dude, because he would do stuff like this with random interviews or a random person. And I'm not surprised that they got a smile to be able to see just another moment of Taylor being Taylor that they didn't know about.
It could have easily went him being like, that's a real bummer about your girl. Okay, back to my record. You don't know how that's going to go. I'm sure most people would be sympathetic, but like that's a trimmed up version of it. Like that went on for a while. Like he was really just into helping someone that he never met get over a relationship. And it truly did help. Like, it put a smile on my face that night. It did kind of give me a little bit better perspective of things. I'm not saying like I wasn't still bummed, because that's just life. And the funny part was I got all these messages from people around the world that, that aren't followers of our station or anything like that, just fans of the Foo Fighters, fans of Taylor Hawkins. And a lot of them kept checking, I hope things turned out okay with you and your relationships. And the best part is Taylor is right. The next girl that I got into a relationship is the person I ended up marrying and been with now, over 11 years.
Oh, okay. You put context to that now, so I know exactly what was going on.
Yeah.
Okay, because you've had relationships long before I've known you, but that one I remember specifically, obviously, because it was the one before your wife.
Yeah, this was about 14 years ago, this interview. Or so.
Whoa!
14 or 13, something like that.
And we've been on the air together, you and I, longer than that.
Really long time.
Yeah, sorry.
Really long time.
I also, if I could, I would just like to take this moment to congratulate you, because that is what makes a great interview, when you just decide, you know what, I'm going to go with what's in my gut right now. And it turned out to be fantastic, because a lot of people just would have stuck to the script and you would never have gotten such an awesome moment with Taylor, which is what people want. That's what that's what we try to do in this business, is we try to give you a side to somebody that you don't get to see. And it's tough because you just don't have those moments to really earn their trust, to get them to reveal something like that. But you were so vulnerable that he immediately thought, this guy's a good dude. He bonded. He got it. And that's what you try to do as an interviewer. You try to find a way to somebody who you just haven't met, that has gone through a cattle call of interviews. How do I bond with this person so that we can have a great conversation? And you did that, dude. So hats off to you, man.
Well, that's why ever since every interview I've done, I said I just got dumped by a girl.
Good call.
I still do it to this day.
Good call.
Edit it out so I don't freak my wife out. But,
it's like the dog, ate my homework. My grandmother died. Whatever you got to do to get it done, son.
But it was one of those things I thought of that night. I'm like, man, I wish I would have had a chance to chat with him again, just so I could tell him, like, what he said really did stick with me, and what he said was pretty close to being like spot on for how things ended up in my life.
Dude,
minus all the sex with all the people. But, I tried. Yeah. He's right. And I definitely looked like a guy that was trying.
Yeah.
That was my favorite part of it.
He gave you a lot of credit.
Yeah.
Thinking that you would really be plowing through a lot of, different people. I think he would have remembered, Steve, because you remember when, Mark Maron, when he came to the show and he and I just commiserated miserably while the rest of everybody else in the room said, these are the two most miserable human beings we've ever met.
Yep.
He remembered that, because when we interviewed him again many years later after the success of his podcast, and he said, hey, man, I saw your name and I was worried about you, wondered if you were still miserable. So I wouldn't be surprised if Taylor would have remembered that.
He might have, if I fully set the table and maybe even played an audio clip of it. Then he'd be like, oh, man, that's, wouldn't it be great if he's like, that was terrible advice. Why'd you listen to me?
Oh, man. Well, except that you have the ultimate success story, because here you are happily married with the next person. Like, you know what? You did meet the next person.
I do love, someone commented on it. They're like, total bro move. Like, the entire time during the interview, he was eating, because it was like he only had a short window of time. That's why it was such like a last minute thing, and it happened. But like, he's trying to eat his food, like he's eating some pasta or something like that. But as soon as he heard the relationship ended, someone even commented like, dude, put down his plate, and then got serious for a second.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like, you know what? This pasta can wait. This guy's heart is broken. I need to fix it.
Dude, it was, you could tell, because, and I'm glad you had the video, because you could see the look on his face. He immediately was like, oh, wait, this is a human-to-human moment here. This is just some cattle call.
Guy. Yeah.
Yeah. And man, dude, there's something about dudes, especially for dudes, you let the walls down. And he saw that and felt that and was like, hey, this dude's a solid man, because he didn't have to tell me that. Most people wouldn't have. He would have just, plowed through. Everything's fine. There's nothing wrong with me. Even, if he thought, man, this guy might be off his game. I wonder what's going on. you know what? You let him in. And that's very appreciated by a lot of human beings. So that was an awesome, I mean, all the way around, that was just awesome. I got nothing bad to say about any of that.
Just chalked it up to verbal diarrhea for me. It is in my head. Sometimes inner thoughts just come out. It was like one of those moments where as soon as it came out of my mouth, I'm like, why did I just tell Taylor Hawkins my girlfriend dumped me and left me?
Well, I will tell you, there have been a lot of great books written by that. Brene Brown has written a lot of books about that, the idea of vulnerability, which is what you were. You were vulnerable in that moment, and that pretty much connected you to Taylor. He responded very well to that. That was a lot of courage. And people, to be that vulnerable, even though it's verbal diarrhea, that's a courageous thing to tell some dude that you're interviewing. Hey, look, man, I'm a failure right now.
I'm a mess right now.
Yeah, that's not an easy thing to do, man. So. Well, I'll give you props,
thanks.
and I hate to do it, but I'm going to have to. I have to.
But I just was like, this is such a great way to show off how cool of a guy Taylor was, and that's from my own personal experience. And I'd imagine a lot of people in this world have those kind of experiences with him that he wasn't a rock star to them.
Yeah, dude, with all the stuff that gets shared, in social media, dude, you really did some good. You did some, because that's a really wonderful moment with Taylor. That was awesome. And the fact that you made some people smile when they're going through what they're going through, you did good work today, brother. You really did. You did good work. On the other side of it, though, we've got the slap heard round the world.
Oh, dear.
Oh, yeah. As Chris Rock got slapped by Will Smith at the Oscars. But what did Will say after the slap? We got the audio, and you're going to hear it at 8:17 on The Rock.
BJ and Migs, mornings on The Rock, 99.9 KISW.
99.9 KISW, The Rock of Seattle. Well, this is probably the biggest news that everybody's talking about is last night at the Oscars. Who would have thought anybody would be everybody be talking about the Oscars? But
yeah, I watched, WWE Monday Night Raw, and I should have been watching the Oscars. There's way better action.
Totally. Yeah, and it was real, I think. At least I think it was real.
It was a work, brother.
Yeah. Chris Rock was doing some jokes before the Best Documentary nominees, and one of the jokes he told was about Jada Pinkett Smith. Now, it's important to know that, Chris Rock, who has hosted shows before, he wasn't the host of this. He was just doing how you come up and you present one award.
Right.
So this is the thing that I feel like this may have been off the cuff because it had nothing. I don't think, was she in a documentary? I don't know, but I don't think she had anything to do with this award. And he was not like your generic MC host who would make fun of random people in the audience.
And I think already, someone that was one of the hosts apparently made fun of her and Will Smith's relationship stuff that has been in the news. So it sounds like maybe there was a target on her already. I don't know if that added to this awkwardness,
and the problem is that the joke just hit something that I don't know if Chris knew that he hit or not at the time. I don't know if he was aware of it. It sucks if he was. If he knew that she had a medical condition, which is why she has no hair, alopecia.
Right.
Then that really sucks on Chris Rock's part because come on, dude. That's the kind of joke you want to do if you knew. If he didn't know, because there are people that shave their heads for movie roles, whatever.
Just as a look.
Yeah. So that was pretty much the joke, and he tells a joke about that, and Will then he did laugh. Will Smith did laugh at the joke at first. Jada did not. She looked disturbed by it. And then Will eventually walked up the stairs, slapped Chris Rock across the face. And if you were watching it, here in the States, the audio was muted for 20 seconds after the slap because Will started cursing. However, in Japan and in Australia, they did not censor the broadcast, which I can't wait for when we can be that cool. Here's the audio of how it all went down.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Richard.
Here comes.
Wow.
There's the slap.
Wow. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
It was a G.I. Jane jump.
Keep my wife's name out your No!
I'm going to, okay?
Yeah, I don't.
Okay. Wow. That was a greatest night in the history of television. Okay.
And he was visibly shaking because then he tried to say we're giving out the documentary to the award, and he really was like he was stumbling after that. Chris Rock was doing his best to just have the show go on,
and a great Samuel L. Jackson impression by Will Smith.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, he should get he got an Academy Award that night. Will did, but he probably should have got a second one for that.
Dude, if you legit play that audio and said, "Who just said that?" I'd be like, that sounds like Samuel L. Jackson, just like in the way that he said it.
So he went. So right after that, Will Smith, really minutes after, he did win the Academy Award for his role in King Richard.
That was the craziest part. Was like all this goes down, and then he wins the award, so he has to go up and accept the award.
And when he began his speech, some laughed, thinking he was going to address what had happened.
Richard Williams was a fierce defender of his family. I'm being called on in my life to love people and to protect people.
Except Chris.
I know to do what we do, you got to be able to take abuse. You got to be able to have people talk crazy about you, people disrespecting you. And you got to smile and you got to pretend like that's okay. But Richard Williams, thank you, D. Denzel said to me a few minutes ago, he said, at your highest moment, be careful. That's when the devil comes for you.
The devil's name is Chris Rock.
Yeah, I hope he understands what that meant. I really hope that Denzel was basically saying, dude, that wasn't cool what you did. Yeah. I hope he gets that's what Denzel meant by that. Because it wasn't cool. It was not cool what Will Smith did. That was completely inappropriate. And I was seeing people defend what he did is disturbing to me in a time where we are trying to get violent behavior curbed. I'm not saying that Will Smith shouldn't be upset.
I'm torn on it. I see both sides. Like, I totally get why I was in I should have maybe pulled him aside afterwards and be like, dude, enough with the jokes about my wife. Because I guess there was some history with them many years ago where he cracked jokes about her. You saw the look on Jada's face. She was not happy about that. And yes, he should have been a better man. But then there's part of me like it just seemed like he hit a breaking point. Like he was just like, I'm sick of people clowning on my wife and she's hurt and I'm pissed. And what he did, not right, but I think he could have straight up punched him and he just gave him a little bit of a slap.
I think he was doing that to protect himself because you can break your fist if you actually punch somebody in the face.
I think it was more of like a warning. Like, dude, I'm coming up there. I'm slapping you. Next time I'm not slapping you. That's the vibe I got.
So you got to wonder, okay, did he at least maybe, while accepting the award or while sitting in the chair, did he actually at least go, well, maybe I should apologize for what I did? And he did apologize, but not to Chris Rock.
I want to apologize to the Academy. I want to apologize to all my fellow nominees. This is a beautiful moment. Art imitates life. I look like the crazy father, just like they said. I look like crazy father, just like they said about Richard Williams. Thank you. Hope the Academy invites me back. Thank you.
Dude, that's the crazy. They could have taken the award away from him. That's the first time he's won an Oscar for, I guess, Best Actor. Yeah. And I guess according to their stipulations for code of conduct, they could take the award away from him.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
how much does that suck?
Dude, that's assault. I mean, I know some people don't think it should be, especially old schoolers, people in my demographic and older, but that is assault. I mean, if you did that to somebody on the street, they could file charges against you, and that's
that's why I'm torn on it, because it's like the guy insulted your wife, and I'm not saying, I know that violence is not the answer, but sometimes people say stupid stuff and they got to deal with the repercussions of saying stupid stuff. And if someone insulted my wife and say something like a health issue, let's just say my wife had some awful health issue that she's battling, and somebody that I knew came up to me and just started cracking jokes about that, I can't promise you I ain't going to hit him.
Yeah, but you're not in a crowd. I mean, look, that person's just an idiot because it's randomly doing. But if you're in a crowd, in a professional thing, you know you're at a performance where comics are going to go after the celebrities, which is what they're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. That's different to me. You're right, Steve. If somebody just comes up to you randomly and does that, yeah, you know what that, I mean, what the hell is that all about? But you're at a professional event where you know this is what they do. They make fun of people. And then you have to ask yourself, look, does he know she's got a thing? I mean, that's the other thing. Is did Chris Rock know that she had a medical condition, or did he think this was just a fashion thing? True. Yeah, I mean, that's why I think, man, he's a stand-up comic. What is he supposed to do? They tell him to do what he's supposed to do. That's what Chris Rock did. He made fun of a lot of people. That's why I'm like, wow. I heard a lot of stand-up comedians are just like, what are we supposed to do? Now people could just come up and smack us around because they don't like our act?
I mean, that's a stretch, I think.
Well, but that's exactly what just happened. He said G.I. I love the G.I. I can't wait for G.I. Jane 2, which actually is a very light joke if you don't know that she's got a medical condition. It's not a bad joke if you don't know.
That's the big part. I wonder what he knew and what he didn't know. Because you're right.
Yeah, if he
didn't know and he was just harmlessly doing that, then, I mean, what... That's a conversation those two need to have together. Because
I mean, his response, he just said, dude, it was just a G.I. Jane joke.
Yeah, but how many times does someone say a dickish thing and then they go, dude, I was just joking. And you know they were doing it to be a jerk.
Yeah, I don't know what was, you're right. We don't know what was in Chris Rock's heart. I still believe, man, you're setting an example when you're going, I didn't like what you said, so I'm going to escalate it with violence. We heard about verbal abuse. I mean, man, verbal abuse is a real thing. Well, physical abuse is a real thing. How many times have we said, just because somebody says something, you can't slap them, which is what dudes used to say when they go, well, you don't understand. My wife said something. It was mean what she said and I slapped her. It's like, yeah, it's never cool, dude. No matter how mean somebody's talking to you, you can't do that.
So you said nobody talk about Steve's wife at the roast, apparently. That's a big part of why I don't want her there. For that reason. Like, if someone says something that's offensive to her, I mean, I don't think they would. But, what if someone did say something that was completely inappropriate?
You don't know.
I'm not going to go up and straight up like punch somebody, but I would definitely say something. I would probably part B of what Will Smith did. I think should have came first.
Yeah.
Get my wife's name out of your mouth. And then after that, if Chris Rock kept going, I'm honestly not going to feel bad that he got slapped.
Yeah, and from a behavioral science standpoint, it's even worse. But that's going deep just because I've been in therapy all these years. But yeah, I should say Will Smith didn't do any favors to really the world in general by responding that way. And it doesn't mean that Jada wasn't hurt, and it doesn't mean that Will didn't want to try to help her. But that's the thing, is like, Will, you going up and slapping Chris Rock? Because, Steve, you and I have a friend, actually, who went on Facebook and said some stuff, and I'm like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Because the person that got hurt was Jada. That's the person that should get all the attention. And we never do that. And they talk about that with parents. You have two kids, and one kid smacks the other kid. What do? You put all your attention on the kid that did the smacking, but the kid that got hurt is the one that you should be putting your attention on. And that way you're ignoring the person that did the hurting, because the person that got hurt's the one that really needs the attention. And he didn't do anything. If anything, maybe he might have pissed her off by going, "Oh, Will, that's not what I want right now. I don't need you going up smacking people." So it was ugly. It was just ugly.
I enjoyed all the memes, though, because there was that great slap, and then people putting a side-by-side comparison. Even Rev joked about it on his Twitter about how it looks like the Batman slapping Robin.
Oh, yeah.
That was a good meme. You're absolutely right.
It's the new meme now. I mean, it replaces the old Will Smith crying meme for something else.
Maybe that's why he did it. He's like, I need a meme that makes me look a little bit more aggressive than crying Will Smith meme.
You're absolutely right. I mean, it is the meme of memes.
Another one took the picture and then put the Everybody Loves Chris font, the old TV show. Where everybody hates Chris.
Did you happen to see the meme where they just replaced the album art for Pantera's vocal display of power?
That was my favorite.
I cracked up at that one.
Because the Pantera album is a face getting punched.
Yes.
And so they replaced it with Chris Rock getting slapped.
Yeah, that was it was wild.
It's been really polarizing, though, dude. Like, that's been the crazy part. Like, I saw it and I was like, crazy. And then you go on social media and there's like people having I guess it's fun to see people arguing over something that had nothing to do with politics or COVID. Because all of a sudden now people are arguing over whether or not that was a justified thing to do or not. And I think both sides at times are bringing up solid points. That's why I'm torn on it. But it's been pretty fun to just watch people yelling at each other. It's like, thank you, Chris Rock and Will Smith, for getting people's minds off of politics for a second and back onto just whether or not you should slap another dude.
Now, I'll tell you this, Chris Rock not filing a police report, which...
I bet they talked about it afterwards.
I wish they would share that. I mean, that's the thing is that if we don't hear about the resolution, I don't think that's cool because you did it in front of everybody. What happened? Instead of like keeping it behind closed doors. So I hope that they open the doors and go, here's what we talked about. Because I think that would be really healing to go, okay, because I hope it's okay, but I don't know, Steve. Just because Chris is not, I think Chris could not file a police report because he probably goes, I don't want to look weak. Because that would look weak, I think, if he filed a police report.
I know some people are like giving Chris Rock a hard time for not like fighting back. And I'm like, well, he's in a very awkward position
What's
now.
he supposed to? He was a professional.
I gotta say, he handled it as well as somebody could. He cracked a couple jokes. He tried to just move on, but he was clearly like off put by that.
Here's what I will say:
what are we supposed to do? Like block it, hit him with a pile driver? Like at that point, he's just gonna have to. Let me just get through this and figure out what to do behind the scenes.
Imagine this, because Steve, you make a really good point, and this is something I don't know if the anti-Chris Rock people don't understand. So obviously we know why Will Smith's upset, because we all know what's going on with Jada. So we understand the pain. But what if you are an innocent person like Chris Rock? You don't know she's got a condition. You're just doing what you think is a harmless joke, and somebody comes up and smacks you in the face on live TV, embarrassing the hell out of you, putting you in a horrible position. I mean, I could see Chris Rock going, what the F is going on here? Because he doesn't know the context. And he responded, he has every right at that point to be pissed because, again, he doesn't know the context, perhaps. Mm-hmm. I could see him have every right to be pissed, and yet he summoned up every bit of professionalism to just move on, which Will Smith did not. We know why Will Smith was upset, but, Chris could equally be as upset with what happened to him. And when you do that side by side, Will Smith is the winner for professionalism. That's a fact.
Someone says that. A few people think it was staged. Someone thought it was staged just to boost ratings, but
if that's the case, then
didn't
that
get me
really
to watch.
irritates me.
No, watching
would that piss me off?
Watching Will Smith's face during it was, you could tell that it was real. Like,
both should get an Academy Award, and also so should Jada. I mean, the three of them looked like it was real.
She had the greatest eye roll and just pissed off look on her face. I was like, man, that was.
I can't blame her. I mean, I can't. I mean, and this is a horrible thing that she's had to go through. If you read about it, so and to have someone make a joke about it, that does suck, no doubt about that, man.
So you don't think they would go in the back and just talk it out? Like
I feel like if he's not filing a police report, maybe they did, Steve.
I don't think they did, because at that point there's just too many people keeping them apart. Like, I think that at that point it's like the Oscars are like, get them out of here. Like, we don't want to have them talk or anything like that.
See, if I was Chris Rock and that happened, and then I find out if like what we're thinking that maybe he didn't know any of that, and then I find out, I'd be like, get me a hold of Will Smith. I need to talk to him, right? And then just to be like, look, I'm not saying what you did was right, but now I understand why you did it. And we need to have a conversation.
Would you be that way if somebody smacked you in the face, though, Steve?
100%.
Really?
If I said something that was so, if I made somebody, I try my hardest not to make fun of anybody. Like, I like to make fun of people, like, but in a way that makes them laugh as well. But if I'm saying something that's hurtful and mean spirited and I didn't know it was, I would absolutely want to talk to them, even if they slap me.
If I'm doing my job,
ding ding, no, I'm dead with that.
If I'm doing my job and I know what my job is to make fun of celebrities, that's my job. Chris Rock's a comedian, and somebody comes up and slaps me in the face, I am pissed.
But even if it's your job, it doesn't mean that like you have every right to cross whatever line you want to cross because it's your job.
Well, that's the thing is I don't think he crossed any line if he didn't know she was sick. He didn't cross any line at all. That's what I mean is, I'm sitting there going, what the hell? And I still believe. You don't go up and assault somebody because of words. You just don't do that. I'm especially in a professional setting. Now, if it's not a professional setting, different story altogether. If it's just you hanging out at a party, but you're in a professional setting like that, I don't expect someone to come up on stage and smack me in the face.
But do you think that's also like a little bit of like an after effect of like just how the world is now? Like with social media, so many people could just say whatever they want and not have to have any fear of any repercussions because of it.
Oh, interesting.
And in a way, like
interesting point.
I wouldn't imagine that Will Smith. I don't know how much they pay attention, like what's talked about online. I think people sometimes you just have that morbid curiosity to see what people are saying about you. And he just was getting into a break. I don't know Will Smith at all. But maybe at this point it's just like, I have a chance to actually have someone who's talking crap about me feel the repercussions, as opposed to in other situations, I just have to deal with this anonymous guy with a bunch of letters at the name after his first name saying mass crap about me, and I'm sick of it.
Now I'm going to put everybody on the spot, starting with you, Steve, because you said it's tough, but you got to pick one: Team Will, Team Chris.
I'm on Will's side.
Okay, Team Will.
Yeah, all right. Any chance to smack Chris Rock, I'd do it.
Vicky,
I don't care. I'm kidding. I don't dislike Chris Rock. I like Chris Rock.
Oh boy. Vicky, Team Will, Team Chris on this.
Only because I think he didn't know. I'm going to have to go with Chris.
There you go. Smart person.
All right, Danny.
At least there's somebody smart in the show. Danny, Team Will, Team Chris.
Team Chris.
Oh, 2 smart people on the show.
All right,
Love
Rev.
this plan. Oh, Rev's got to be Team Will.
Why?
Oh, wow. No, I thought just because you like seeing someone get smacked.
No, Team Chris.
Team Chris.
Whoa!
Look at that.
Wow, Steve, look at you.
Even though it was a really stupid joke.
I want to know what your daughter thinks.
Okay. We'll get her in there.
Yeah, because I think of anyone, I feel like she would want J-Rubs to smack a man in her honor. You know what I mean?
Probably would. I know. What is tell Joey D's thumbs up for Chris, thumbs down for Will. What's he got?
He's going back. He's a flip flopper.
He's a flip flopper. Don't talk to him.
He's just he'll hit on Jada no matter, even if she's married. That's just
I hadn't thought about that. Yeah.
Once again, in that entanglement life.
Right. Exactly.
All right. Okay, so far Steve is in the minority.
Yes,
because,
I'm the only one that condones violence.
He's Team Will. So Team Will or Team Chris in this one?
I'm kind of in the middle, but I'm kind of more with Steve, actually.
What?
Yeah, Chris Rock is fine. His face is fine. It was just a smack.
Wow, who raised you?
I don't know.
You did, BJ.
Oh yeah, that's right.
If he actually knew that his wife had alopecia,
I agree. That's a dumb joke.
That's definitely a low blow, and I think deserves to get a little smacked. I mean, I feel like that's like a guy thing. They just kind of they get mad at each other and they fight it out, and then it's over.
You know, you have an opinion of somebody who's like 30, 40, 50 years older than you. That's the thing, is that's what old people say. They go, that's how guys work it out. And maybe some guys do still believe that. But our society today says, no, that is not the way anybody should work it out.
I don't know if I'd have a different answer if he straight up punched him. But
it was he actually got injured.
I think he should have just pushed him. And I think that would have been a lot less controversial.
Oh, I think the slap was perfect.
Slap is pretty epic.
It's epic. It's like, I'm going to bitch slap you if you say one more thing, but it's not like he's going to get a bloody nose or he's actually going to have injuries from it. But yeah, I always talk to J-Rubs and I'm like, hey, if someone's talking to me bad at a bar or something, would you fight them? And he's like, oh yeah, absolutely. And to me, I'm like, oh baby, okay.
See, how laid do you think Will Smith got last night?
If Jada was on board, super laid multiple times.
Not for the Oscar, but for the slap.
Yeah.
Well,
double whammy.
That's all right. So we got first of all, Sarah's no longer my daughter. She's disowned because you should always agree with your father. No. So this was the talk of the Oscars. A few celebs mentioned it during their time on camera, including Diddy and Amy Schumer.
Will and Chris, we're going to solve that like family at the gold party. Okay?
I've been getting out of that Spider-Man costume. Did I miss anything? There's a different vibe in here. But probably not. Well, anyway.
That's awesome.
So much awkwardness for the rest of the Oscars, I bet.
Yeah, it's...
Did you see Vicky found a picture of all the celebrities that reacted at the moment of the slap? They had video or pictures. And
I heard Lupita Nyong'o, people said they wish they could just see every expression on her face just shown at the same time. I heard she was the queen of the expression.
The Rock had a great one as well. His eyes were bugging. And then who's at the bottom? Ryan Gosling is cracking up.
Oh, damn, dude. Yeah, look at all that. And The Rock is a person that guy probably, because he's I got to be careful I don't slap anybody because I will kill them probably.
It would be great if he came out there and gave him the rock bottom. to protect
really?
him.
Oh, all right. That would have been total
people's
wrestling
elbow.
at that point.
Might as well.
Yeah. I'm interested to hear what gets said as the days go by. I feel like something has to be said, doesn't it? I mean, somebody's got to say something. You can't just let it lie like this. We need to know if they're okay. We need to know if Chris knew.
I'm sure more will come out, dude.
I hope so. Because as a comedian, I will say this, or at least somebody who tried to be a comedian. But I
you still have your business card that says comedian, so it all checks out.
I just feel like there's no comic that would do that. There's no comic that would make fun of somebody who's got a serious illness, and the way they look is because of that illness. Nobody would do that who's really a decent comic. You're an a-hole who's trying to make a name for yourself. And that just doesn't strike me as Chris Rock. Chris Rock is not at that point of his life where he needs to make that kind of comedy. I just don't see him doing that intentionally. If he did, it was the dumbest, stupidest thing probably he's done in his career. But I really don't think he knew. I just can't believe, because I didn't know about her condition until last night.
Yeah, I don't know anything about any celebrities. I barely know who's in a relationship these days. So I'm not the one for that either.
And I just don't want to believe that Chris knew. I just don't want to believe that, because that's a horrible thing to joke about, to somebody who, what has Jada Pinkett ever done to piss anybody off anyway? And then she's going through some tough stuff in her life. It just doesn't seem like that would be a joke to do if you knew. There's just no winning there. And there you go. All right. So a lot of people, a lot of stuff. Really. Somebody may want to slap Steve because he got this one wrong.
Look out.
Maggie May was the first #1 song for which artist?
John Cougar Mellencamp?
No.
Bob Dylan?
No.
Maggie May. Hey, baby. Hey. Wow. I'm going to go Bruce Springsteen. No, Maggie May. I should be slapped for trying to sing like Bob Dylan.
Yeah. Bob Dylan wants to slap you for that horrible impression. Rod Stewart wants to slap you for comparing him to John Cougar Mellencamp, which I think he would probably go, "Are you serious?" And Bruce Springsteen is like, "Well, at least you mentioned me." But yeah, that was Rod Stewart, the big answer. And you have an opportunity to either beat, slap, whatever you want to do to Miggs. 206-421-ROCK. We're playing Beat Miggs at 8:47 on The Rock.
Today's podcast was brought to you by Travis Gagne, bankruptcy attorney. He's here right now and has agreed to answer more of your questions about bankruptcy. Here's another question from a listener. I'm getting my wages garnished. Can bankruptcy help with that?
Absolutely. One of the big reasons people file bankruptcy is because they have a judgment or a lawsuit against them, or their wages are getting garnished, and so they can't pay their other regular ongoing bills. People sometimes think that you can't file bankruptcy once they have a judgment against them or once a garnishment has started, and that's not true. Filing bankruptcy will immediately stop any garnishment that you have going, except for child support, and stop your creditors from continuing on with garnishments of your bank account, your wages, and in most cases will discharge that liability through the bankruptcy process. And we can file a bankruptcy case for you usually the day you come in.
Thanks, Travis. If you have more questions about bankruptcy, you can reach out to Travis anytime at choosetherightchapter.com. That's choosetherightchapter.com. Thanks for listening.